Good evening. My name is Ben Jealous, the incoming executive director of the Sierra Club, taking a break from our 15th state listening tour. So get ready to take the reins at the end of the month. Tonight, I gathered with our president, Ramon Cruz, to watch the State of the Union. Like many of you, saw a lot of good news. I want to encourage you to share your thoughts, share your questions in the comments section. We won't have time to respond to all of them, but we will read all of them and share them with your fellow Sierra Club members, your fellow activists. Now let's talk about the speech. As President Biden said in his State of the Union tonight, we need to finish the job. It's been a historic year for climate action. The Sierra Club is proud of all we have accomplished working with the Congress and the Senate and the President. It's time for the President and the Congress to finish the job and ensure a livable climate and safe and healthy communities for each and every American. And the Sierra Club and our movement will be there every step of the way to make sure that it happens. Let us back up for one moment, though. Thanks to you and the movement we've created, 2022 was a watershed year for action on climate and environmental justice. It marked a turning of the tide against the fossil fuel industry. Our movement created the opportunity for President Biden and allies in Congress to pass the biggest investments ever in climate, clean energy, and jobs. Biden is right to laud the Inflation Reduction Act, which has the potential to provide the critical investments necessary to strengthen the health and future of our communities and do our part for the planet as well. The IRA will be sorely needed help for families across the country in the form of tax credits for electric vehicles and clean energy, as well as family sustaining jobs, decreased pollution, and protection for our land, water, wildlife, and wild places. We will continue to pressure Biden and his administration to make sure that communities disproportionately affected by pollution and climate fueled disasters are prioritized for Inflation Reduction Act funding. But the work we did to create this moment led to other victories as well. We saw the passage of the CHIPS and Science Act, which will speed up innovations in clean energy. We secured key victories for clean transportation and building electrification. We blocked a dirty deal that would weaken environmental protections and would have rubber stamped dangerous fossil fuel infrastructure like the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Our past work to usher through the passage of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act continues to lead to the historic investments our communities need. And our voices together led to the passage of the Respect for Marriage Act, which finally protects same-sex and interracial unions as well as major gun safety legislation. But there's so much more work to do. Too many still live with polluted air and unsafe drinking water. Too many of our communities remain under the grip of polluters. Too many of us continue to live in poverty, unable to access basic needs. And each and every one of us are affected by the climate crisis threatening our collective future. This year, we will hold President Biden accountable to ensure he uses every tool at his disposal to drive the action required to protect our communities, our clean air and water, and the climate. We cannot count on those members of Congress who repeatedly put polluters profits over our health, our communities, and a safe and livable future to work with us to pass climate legislation. The good news is that the president and federal agencies have a vast array of actions they can take to get us where we need to be. Bold executive action and strong administrative rulemaking is critical to President Biden's commitment to delivering on climate, clean energy jobs, and justice. The Biden administration cannot waste any more time. They must move swiftly to fulfill the president's commitments to protect our clean air and water. Several of the efforts the Biden administration must move swiftly on are: one, the EPA should establish greenhouse gas limits for gas and coal plants to reduce climate pollution. It should finalize methane standards and expand its regulation of toxic chemicals so that everyone has access to clean air, clean water. And it should issue strong safeguards that would limit tailpipe emissions from trucks and buses. Two, the administration should take real steps to achieve its goal of conserving at least 30% of our lands and waters by 2030. This means using executive authority to protect more landscapes, waters, forests, and species. The administration should expand buy clean actions to lower industrial carbon emissions and pollution, as well as invest in clean manufacturing. 4, the Department of Housing and Urban Development should finalize new performance standards for building energy and weatherize and electrify public housing. 5, it's time to pass the Recovering America's Wildlife Act to conserve and protect at-risk wildlife and habitat. And the Outdoors for All Act to promote parks and green space for everyone. Urban communities where kids sometimes have to walk a mile or two just to get to a park. We also need bipartisan legislation on electric vehicle battery recycling and to increase transportation access to public lands for undeserved communities by advancing the Transit to Trails Act. Next, the Biden administration should nominate judges with diverse experience who respect science of our environmental laws. Joe Biden's been doing a great job at pushing great judges on to the court. We need to go further. We need to go faster. Finally, protecting the environment and protecting our democracy go hand in hand, and it's critical Washington take the necessary action. It's past time Congress passed the Freedom to Vote Act, the John R. Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, and the Disclose Act. And finally, in Washington, D.C., a state. Yes, President Biden has made historic progress on climate action, but it's time he and his administration use the full powers afforded to the office and finish the job. And we're going to hold him to that. The Sierra Club's millions of members like you, millions of supporters like you, are committed to finishing the job for climate action, for environmental justice, and for protecting wildlife and wild places. We're committed to challenging the status quo so no person, no family, and no community is besieged by the clutch of poverty. And we're committed to finishing the job to ensure a livable planet and a healthy future for each and every one of us. This is not only the work of the environmental community, it's the work of all of us, We must work together to ensure President Biden and Congress take the action to finish the job. Thank you. God bless each of you. Let's keep fighting until the job gets done.